Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to create a dynamic product filter using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. This filter will allow us to show and hide product cards based on their categories. Let's get started. Okay, open our code editor and first step we'll create simple markup for our filter. Create a new div element and inside this element will be create our buttons. We created first button and now let's add class for our container. Add attribute class and call this element filter container. And now let's create class for our button. We'll be using common class and we can call this class filter button. Also default our first button will be active and we can add this class here. Okay, and our first button will be all and this button will be open all elements. Okay, and also let's create data attribute. We'll call this data attribute category and we'll be using this attribute inside our JavaScript file, and our value will be different and will depend on the button. First button add value all, and now let's duplicate this code one more time. And before we'll create new value for our category and change text inside our button, let's remove our active class because we don't need to active default button. And now let's change text inside our second button, write in electronics and do the same for our data attribute. I think will be more quickly if I'll skip this moment. Okay, like you see, I created 4 buttons and different between these buttons is only text inside all buttons and value data category attribute. Okay, and now let's create our products cards. We won't be using any images because today our main task to create logic using native JavaScript. Create new element, it will be our wrapper, and add class, call this class products. Okay, and let's create our cards. You can using list tag, but I'll be using div because it will be more quickly and we won't need to delete padding and list styles. Okay, let's create our first card. Create class for our card. This class will be common and call this class product card. Okay, and create our first product. And let's add some content inside our cards. We can create h3 tag and write in our text. Our first card will be phone, and now we need to create new data attribute. We'll be using this attribute inside our JavaScript file and filter our cards using this attribute. We can again using data category, and inside this attribute we can using our categories. Like you see, inside our card we have phone, and I think we can using category electronics. Okay, and next step we need to create more cards, and I think we can again skip this moment. Okay, like you see, I created a few cards for all categories, and now let's look at the window. Here's our buttons and here's our cards, and now we can start to create styles for our cards. Before started, you need to create new file with extend CSS and connect this file inside head using tag link with rel attribute style sheet. Also using href to connect this file, and now we can start creating our styles. First, let's create basic styles for our body. Set new font family. We'll be using Arial, but delete this element, and also set background color. We'll be using something like black, and set color our text. I think we'll be using white. Okay, also create small padding 20 pixel. Okay, our body is ready, and now let's look at the window. Like you see, our file with styles works, and now we can create styles for our filter. Create new selector. First we'll create styles for our buttons and create margin button between our buttons and our cards, and also set text align center. Okay, and next step, let's create styles for our filter button common class. Create new selector, and first create padding top and bottom 10 pixels and right left 20 pixels. Also set margin 5 pixel and delete border. We don't need any line, and create background color. Okay, also set color for our text and add cursor pointer. And now let's look at the window. Here is our button, and like you see now it looks more attractive, but let's also create border radius and property transition. Create border radius, set 5 pixels, and create transition property for our background color, because we need slowly animation. We'll be using 300 milliseconds, and let's look at the window. And now let's create hover effect for our button. Copy this class and create hover. Like I said, will be change background color. Create new background color, and will be do the same when our button will be active. Create here new selector and add active class. Okay, let's look at the window. Like you see now, our first button is active and our hover is also work. Okay, our buttons are ready, and next step, let's create simple styles for our products. Copy this class and paste here. First add display flags, and now we can using flags wrap for different screen. It'll make our cards more responsive. And also justify content center. And now let's create styles for our card. Copy this class and pass here. First add width 30%, I think will be enough, and also create padding 20 pixels and set margin between our cards 10 pixels and create border 1 pixel. Solid. And what about color? I think we can using background our button. Okay, next step, let's also create border radius. Copy this property but change value, because our card is more big and I think we need 10 pixels. Okay, in the end, set background color. Create new color Okay, and now let's look at the window. Here's our card, and I think we need also create shadow. Open our code and create property box shadow with value 0, 4 pixels and 8 pixels. Also create color, like always we'll be using RGB because we need opacity. Create black and add opacity 0.5. Okay, our shadow is ready, but also let's create transition. Because I want to create hover effect, you can create transition for transform and box shadow, but I'll create transition for all elements. I think it'll be more fast, and if we'll be create hover effect, I think will be good approach if we also create cursor pointer. Okay, our card style is ready, and next step, let's create hover for our card. Create new selector, and first we'll be using transform scale and change size our card when user will be hover over our card. Also change box shadow. Our shadow will get in more big, but we want to change color. We can using the same color. Now let's look at the window. Here's our cards. Like you see now, it looks better. And now let's try to hover. Okay, I think these styles will be enough. And next step, we can start working on our logic. First, you need to create new file with your JavaScript. I think we can close our CSS file. And next step, you need to connect this file using tag script with attribute src and add link to your file. Okay, and now let's open our script file and start to create our logic. And before we started create our logic, we need to check that our DOM3 is ready to work. We need to use in our document and method add event listener, and will be listen DOM content loaded. Okay, and create new function. When our content is ready, we can run our logic. First step, let's get all our buttons. Create new const and call this const filter buttons using document query selector. All because we have more than one button, and add our selector. Like you remember, all our buttons have the same class and we can use in this class, but don't forget to add point before your class. Okay, and next step, we need to get our product cards. Create new variable and call this variable product cards, and we can copy this method past here, but let's change class. Now we need to get product cards. Okay, we got all our elements, and now let's use in loop for our buttons using our variable filter buttons and call method for each. Like you remember, this method takes function, and this function will get like first argument our button. Okay, and now when we got all our buttons, we can create event for all buttons using our button, and method add event listener will be listen click. and also get this event because we need information inside this event. And now let's get category our button. Create new const, call this const category, and we'll be using event, target, and method get attribute. And like value, let's copy name our attribute. And next step, let's get our active button using document query selector and our active class, and create condition if our active variable has some element. We need to use a class list and method remove, and remove our active class. And next step, let's add this class for our button using event target and copy this code, pass here, but now we need method add. And let's look at the window. Here's our buttons, and let's try to change our button. Like you see, nothing changed because I make mistake. We need document. And like you see, now our button works. And in the end, we need to open and close our cards. Now let's using our variable with product cards, and again using for each, but now we'll get card and again get category. We can copy this code, but now we don't need event, we need card. But first let's change name our button categories. We can write in category button and create condition if category button equal our category. If our condition is true, we need to using our card and styles property display at block, but else we need to add display none. Okay, our card's almost ready, but like you see, our variable doesn't work because now our variable is close inside this function, and we can create new function or pass our function here. And let's look at the window and let's try. Like you see, our filter is work, but we forgot about one very important thing. If we need to change this condition, or if category button equals all. Okay, and now everything works. Today we created a dynamic product filter using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. This filter allows us to show and hide product cards based on their categories. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more web development tutorials. Thanks for watching.